Okay, so
Yeah, we're live on Twitter.
Should be.
Yeah, I just went to Twitter to check.
And we're live on YouTube.
Yep, we're good.
All right. Love this.
Yes, science.
Yeah, Ryan. Love to see it. Talk about trading Crosby. This is our thoughts on that. All right, well, I guess we should just jump into it. So we had been kind of teasing, starting to try to incorporate the Twitter audience. We know not everybody's going to make the jump over from Twitter to YouTube every time that we go live. So using StreamYard, which is a really cool platform, we're going to be able to go live on YouTube and on Twitter at the same time to do the show from now on, which is awesome. So here we are for the first time. Didn't know if we were going to jump right into this right away, but I wanted to test it out, kick the tires on it, and see how it goes. So I like the way it looks for sure, and we shall see if it generates. I mean, already we got people comment and stuff. We got like 15 people watching right now. So, I mean, so far so good, I think.
Congrats on figuring out OBS.
This is an OBS, Cody.
Not OBS.
But I'll show it to make you look like an idiot real quick.
We've been using OBS since we first started, so
yeah. That's what we used to use for Twitch. So
yeah,
OBS was never the problem. We just no longer were using Twitch. But anyway, I think that we should actually maybe do a show. I don't know,
like an official one.
Yeah. Okay, so whenever you are ready, you can do the podcast intro.
All right, sounds good. Welcome to Around the 412. We are part of allsteelers.com and proudly presented by Crowworthy, where winners are serving winners coast to coast with sports, gambling, fantasy, and more. You can follow Crowworthy at Crowworthy on Twitter, and you can visit us at crowworthy.com. You can also check out the Crowworthy Pittsburgh City page for podcasts just like this one, blogs, and more. I'm Tyler, and with me as always is Smitty. What's up, Twitter?
What's going on? Yeah, for sure. What's going on with everybody on Twitter? As I said, we got like 16 people in here right now, which is awesome. Only 3 of those people are on YouTube. So you see what I mean? Like incorporating this Twitter audience is going to be great for us. Hopefully get a lot more interaction. It makes it a seamless transition for you guys to come watch the show. So, but this is a all Pens show. That's what we're going to be talking about. I did, however, throw out the idea yesterday, wanted to kick the tires on it, of potentially doing an NFL draft show. It's definitely something I want to do. The idea got put in my mind last year watching Pat McAfee and those boys do their live draft show, which was awesome. So it's definitely something that I would be interested in doing. And that's why I started messing around with this StreamYard thing to begin with, because it just looks really cool. It's easily customizable, but you guys got to let us know if it's something that you'd want to be a part of first and foremost, if it's something you'd watch, whatever it might be. So let us know in the comments if you'd be interested in us doing a draft show first and foremost, but also just with the way that we can do the interaction and try to expand that as well for you guys. First and foremost, before we start talking about the Pens, I want to tell you guys about one of our sponsors, what is Manscaped. So listen up, fellas. 2020 sucked. We all know that. Also 2021, not up to a great year. However, there is a light at the end of the tunnel. It's new year, new balls with our sponsors at Manscaped. They're the best in men's below-the-waist grooming and offer precision engineered tools for your family jewels, helping over 2 million men all over the world get rid of the hair on their balls. If you let yourself go in 2020 while in quarantine, Manscaped is here for you to reboot and stay clean and shaved in 2021. Talk about it every single week, but I literally have every single product they have to offer at this point. I love all of them. It has a distinct scent to the cologne, which I wear on a daily basis. The body wash, which you also use for your hair, is great. It's my daily body wash. So I love all the products. I highly recommend them. You can quote me on it if you want. If you don't like the product, you can send me a Venmo request for like $5 and I'll pay it. If you truthfully, genuinely do not like it. Yeah.
Putting your money where your mouth
is. Go that far for them. I am going to bat for the brand. Come out of quarantine with clean balls thanks to Lawnmower 3.0. This waterproof and skin-safe trimmer will reduce nicks to your 2 best friends. The third generation trimmer even has a light to give you that glow that you need in 2021. It's time to freshen up down there this new year. The Crop Preserver is an anti-chafing ball deodorant and moisturizer. You already put deodorant on your armpits, so why not start putting it down there? And for on-the-go freshness, you'll love the Crop Reviver Ball Toner Spray. 2020 was awful. Make sure your boys are refreshed and ready for new beginnings in 2021. You can get all these great products and more at manscaped.com. And when you use the code 412 at checkout, you'll get 20% off plus free shipping. Again, that's code 412 at checkout at manscaped.com for 20% off plus free shipping. Your balls will thank you, and you can thank us.
These are actually new bottles right here. Had to re-up.
Oh, dude. What was that? You got new bottles? Is that what you said?
Mm-hmm.
You were kind of lagging right there for a second.
Yeah.
So Jacob said he'd be interested in a draft show. Awesome. North Shore 9. Yeah. With the eyes. Okay. So let's talk about the Pens. As you guys can see on the ticker here, there's some new news as it goes for the Pens. They currently sit at 5-4-1, good enough for fourth in the division. And they're 2 games against the Devils, which they also play next Tuesday, but that hasn't been affected yet, have been postponed due to a COVID issue with the Devils. So they're going to get some time off, which, I think the argument could be made that for the Penguins, it's a good thing, with the way that their defense is kind of set up right now. It looks like we could get Mike Matheson back for this game. It looks like Zach Aston Reese could be back as well. So we'll see about that. But just from that point of view, can you get on board with saying that like maybe this is a blessing in disguise for the Pens?
Well, I think so. The defense is just beat up so bad. They're down to playing Kevin Churchman, who is just flat out terrible. I'm sorry, that dude sucks. I'm looking at his stats right now, and it's only through 2 games played. But his Corsi is 23.1%, and we were talking about how your Corsi is bad if it's in like the low 40s. It's 20 below that. So they need to get some guys healthy. Then you get the hang back. Which, I mean, he needs to play better when he does come back, but I think it is a blessing in disguise. And hopefully over the next few days when they have time off, they can really work on that power play and the just 5-on-5 offense in general, not even just the defense, because the team the past few games has just not looked good overall. They have been winning some of these games, but they haven't been winning them in regulation. A lot of the games are closer than you'd like to see. And then that Rangers game, there's no reason they should lose to the Rangers, period. I mean, that's it. You're a better team than the Rangers. The Rangers are young, rebuilding. There's no reason that you should lose a game 3-1 to the Rangers.
I do have to give them, from a defensive standpoint, a little bit of credit for that last game. I think that they, all things considered with where they're at defensively right now, I thought they played a pretty good defensive game, at least for the most part. They were definitely towards the latter portion of the second and then the third period where the Rangers looked like the more dominant team. And I think it's just a product of where we were at defensively. You're asking John Marino to play 30 minutes, which, he's never done before, but he looked like he's capable of doing so. And you're asking P.O. Joseph, who's on that first defensive pairing with him, to play pretty close to the same, somewhere in that 25 to 28 range, which is insane, for a guy making his 4th, 5th start in the NHL. So, but I am very impressed with what that pairing was able to do. And specifically P.O. Joseph, the guy that I want to talk about, 3 primary helpers just a couple nights ago. He's doing more than what we expected. I mean, this is a kid that we already had high hopes for, but for him to step in and right away play the way that he has on both ends of the ice, I think that we already knew that he was going to be able to add what he has on the offensive side. We knew that he was that type of defenseman, but being as sound as he has in his own end as well for such a young defenseman, you got to be pretty happy with what you've seen early on from P.O. Joseph.
Yeah, and I think he is making this Phil Kessel trade all worthwhile, because the big question was not really whether Alex Galchenyuk was going to be that great of a player for the Penguins, which he turned out not to be, and we covered that a week or 2 ago. The big question was, how is P.O. Joseph going to turn out as a defensive prospect? And especially when you made that Zucker trade and you traded away Kalen Addison, you were putting your trust in P.O. Joseph to be able to pan out like people thought that he would. And up to this point, that he has played exceptionally well. He's arguably the best defenseman that they've had so far this season. And I'll say it again, there's no way he comes out of the lineup when everybody's healthy. I don't care who sits out on that left side. P.O. Joseph has to stay in. He's part of the future of that defensive core, and he's looking like the best defenseman that they have. I
agree. That's going to be the interesting for me is, what do they do when they're healthy, because we're talking about Mike Matheson coming back here in short order, maybe as early as their next game on Saturday. But when you look at that left side of the defense, which is where P.O. Joseph plays, now they could play a guy in their offhand or something, and that would mean Chad Ruhwedel coming out, but he's played pretty well for the most part. Other than he's taken, a good bit of penalties. Somebody is going to not be playing that probably should be playing. I think that it's too early to tell. Obviously, Mike Matheson didn't get off to a great start in Pittsburgh, and then he got hurt. But you think when he's healthy, he's going to play, because they got to try to make that Hornquist trade worth it for them, especially with what Hornquist is doing right now early on in the season in Florida. So Mike Matheson's going to play. Brian Dumoulin, when he comes back, he's going to play. Marcus Pettersson's going to play. So where does that leave a guy like P.O. Joseph? It likely means somebody, one of those left-handed guys, probably playing on their offside, and Chad Ruhwedel being back out of the lineup, is that seventh defenseman, which from a depth standpoint is great. That depth is really being put to the test right now. Even a guy like Cody Ceci has been playing better than I think that we thought he was going to. So, the depth of this team has really shown up, and I think it's a testament to them, because, again, I don't think that anybody really, when we saw all these guys start to go down, it's like, man, they're not going to, I don't know how they're going to survive this. Like, the offense is going to have to score like 4 or 5 goals a night for them to have a chance. And that hasn't been the case. The games they are winning, it's not like they're very high scoring games. The defense, I think, is just like playing much better recently than we expected them to, given the circumstances.
Yeah, I think the defense as a whole, except for those first couple games in Philadelphia, has played decently well. They've just been injured. That's it. And they'll come back if the left-handed winger or left-handed defenseman plays on their offside. I would imagine it wouldn't be Dumoulin. I would imagine they would want to go back to Chris Letang and Dumoulin as a top pairing, and hopefully those two figure it out, because up to this point, those two have been pretty disappointing on the ice. They are not up to the standard of what you expect from that top pairing. And between Matheson and Pettersson, I don't know if we've ever seen either of them. Well, we haven't seen Matheson for sure, but I don't know if we've ever seen Pettersson in a Penguin uniform play on his offside. So I don't know if either of those guys are more capable than the others. I'm sure the coaching staff knows more so than we do. But either way, I need P.O. Joseph to stay on that left side. I don't think there's any way that you can justify him coming out. If you want to try to throw the cap hit number, that the other guys have a bigger cap hit and they need to play above him, that's just a bunch of crap. He's playing out of his mind right now. I would say up to this point, I think you can argue that he would be in a Calder conversation if he continued this play throughout the rest of the season, similar to what conversations that we had about John Marino last year. I think that you could legitimately say that about him. If he keeps this up, you could at least have him in the idea of a Calder Trophy. So he needs to stay in there, figure it out. I don't know what they're going to do. Maybe they trade somebody. I know we've touched on that before. I don't really know if that's necessarily the case. Yeah, you have here first. But you have that stacked left side of the defense, and eventually something's got to give. Whether it's someone playing on their offside, trading someone, I just need him in there. That's the end all be all. He needs to play.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely don't disagree with you. I'm just curious, when push comes to shove, who will be the odd man out, or odd men out, honestly, because like I said, with the way that like even Cody Ceci's played, they're asking him to play a much bigger role than they expected him to. But okay, so moving on to another guy that I want to get your early thoughts on. Obviously the big trade of the offseason for the Pens, trade a first-round pick for Kasperi Kapanen, who's been kind of eased into the process, obviously with some other injuries. He had to move up into the top 6, which is where we expected him to go anyway, but not playing with Sidney Crosby, but rather playing with Evgeny Malkin. What are your early thoughts about Kasperi Kapanen this year?
Well worth the trade. He was worth every piece of that, including Evan Rodriguez, who is still on the team this year.
Anyway,
yeah. I will not hear from anybody that they overpaid, because David Warsofsky wasn't going to play. Philip Hollander, we don't even know when he was going to be on the Penguins. So realistically, you're looking at that first-round pick. Yes, it was 15th overall that you traded to Toronto, but the way that Kasperi Kapanen has played, and even just from his first period in a Penguin uniform, he has taken over the ice whenever he's been on it, and being able to get into this top 6 now with the likes of Malkin, I think he's looked really good on Malkin's wing. I think that a guy like him can help Malkin get out of the slump that he's been in on 5-on-5 and rejuvenate his game. And just his numbers have been great. I mean, he's shooting at a clip 25%, which is just crazy. I think he needs to shoot more because this guy really has a good shot and he's better with the puck than I think a lot of us anticipated. And you look at his Corsi numbers, he's at 54.9. He's not a defensive liability. He's out there forechecking, back checking. He's doing it all with the Penguins right now. So I think it is well worth it, and he's playing very well.
Yeah, I agree, but at the same time, I would say, like, I feel like there's even more in there, like, that we're not seeing right now because of, like, you know, Malkin doesn't have a goal 5-on-5, Crosby doesn't have a goal 5-on-5, and, like, because of that, we're not seeing, like, fully what I think is, like, Kasperi Kapanen is capable of. I don't think that we've seen, like, his full 5-on-5 game come to fruition yet, and I think that we're still waiting for that, but that's very encouraging, the fact that, like, we've seen the speed. We've seen a little bit of his two-way game defensively, what he's capable of doing. Like, he can. That's why he's a guy that you can move up and down your lineup. Like, he's capable of playing in a bottom six role as well. Obviously, we wouldn't want him to do that, but he's capable of doing that because of how good this guy is defensively. But, like, you see, like, the silky mitts too on that breakaway goal that he scored. The backhand goal was weird to me. Like, it looks like he kind of just, like, lost control of the puck and it just happened to go into the net.
Yeah.
But like the one where Malkin sprung him for a breakaway was beautiful. Right. And that's what I'm talking about with his hands. So, I mean, we knew that he was a talented player, just, you know, on a team where it's too talented, if that's a thing, in terms of their forward group, where he was buried in the bottom six, but he's a guy that's capable of playing in the top six. And I'm excited for him to continue to do so here because, you know, I don't know whether it's going to be long-term with Malkin or if he eventually does move up with Sid. We'll see. I think that that's still their long-term plan, is for him to play with Sid. But I'm excited, you know, to keep watching his game grow here because I think that there's a ton of untapped potential there.
Yeah, and he reminds me of another guy that we like to rave about, Brandon Tanev. Not necessarily the same way that Tanev plays, but similar in the motor, similar in the speed, giving it all when he's on the ice. You just notice him when he's on the ice, even if he doesn't have the puck. You notice where he's at and what he's doing. So I think just seeing that from him is very encouraging to Penguins fans. This is a guy. It's not a guy that we traded for a third line winger. Like, yes, that's what he was playing in Toronto, but he had William Nylander and Mitch Marner in front of him. He was just buried down there. We traded for a guy that is top six talent, and we're seeing that.
Yeah, I mean, to that same point, a guy like Brian Rust would have been playing on the third line in Toronto as well, but we know that he's much more than that in Pittsburgh. So, I don't hold that against him in terms of, like, that's not why I was going to be upset with the trade, the fact that he's playing on Toronto's third line, because that's just an indictment of, once again, how talented that forward group is. But yeah, early return on investment looked very good for Kasperi Kapanen. As far as everybody else goes, you know, Josh Yohe actually just put out an article today with The Athletic about, like, his grades for everybody. There was, you know, there's like an A+, like P.O. Joseph, obviously very limited time here and everything like that. He also handed out a couple Fs, and one of them was Evgeny Malkin. So I mentioned that he didn't have a 5-on-5 goal this year. It's weird because there's times where he still looks like the same player. To me, the biggest difference is what he looks like on the power play. And it's really everybody, honestly. Like, everybody just seems like they're trying to do way too much, set up the perfect play, and it's just a bunch of passing with nobody wanting to shoot the puck.
Dude, and with him, I feel like a lot of his passing doesn't even make sense. It's not even like he passes it hard, like just tape to tape. A lot of it is just like this little, like, sissy kind
they're
of
trying to sauce it to the middle of the ice.
It's just too fancy. I think when you look at the power play, not just Sid and Malkin, but as a whole, when you go through Letang, Marino, who's ever running the point, and then you've got Jake or Rust, or we even saw Kapanen on the top unit. Minus Rust, because I think Rust is a shoot-first guy. I think all of these guys are pass-first, and I think it's because they've watched Malkin and Crosby throughout their career and how they play, and Malkin and Crosby have never really been or shoot-first. They want to open up the plays and be your pass-first mindset. And you're seeing that too much on the power play. And I think it's trickling down to the other players. And they're just trying to look for the passing lanes and the perfect shooting lanes. And it's just not working. And minus Brian Rust, who I think is a shoot-first guy, which is why I think he replaced Kasperi Kapanen on that top power play during their last game. You just got a bunch of guys that aren't willing to be selfish and shoot the puck. And believe me, if you've listened to me on the show or just talked to me in person, I hate whenever people say shoot the puck or, like, at a game and they yell shoot. But, I mean, we're at a certain breaking point where, like, something's got to give because there's a difference between them like looking for certain plays and still shooting, and just literally just passing and then getting past breakups, clearing the zone, and you're just wasting power play opportunities, because that's what they've been doing so far this year. They were 0 for 6 in their last game. They're 5 for 37 on the season. That's just unacceptable from a power play that has this much skill, this much offensive talent. You've got Crosby, Malkin, Gensel. You should not be shooting at, I think it was 13.5% on the power play.
Yeah, it's not pretty. I mean, and that's the difference in their last game against the Rangers is the power play. 6 opportunities and obviously 0 for 6, but the more worrisome part is how many of those power plays went by without them registering a shot on them. It's just, the process isn't even good, because the results, they are what they are. You can't always control that, but you can control the process. And they've just been doing a poor job of execution when it comes to that standpoint. So I don't know what needs to happen. It's been bad for a while, and Todd Reirden was the guy that was supposed to come back and fix that.
But yeah, what's he been doing? What does he do in practice?
Who knows?
He was supposed to be the guy that's going to come back and get the Penguins power play back to what it was whenever they had Phil Kessel shooting at like 26% or whatever they were a few years ago. But it's literally been no change. The power play has just gotten progressively worse since Kessel left. And not that it was always great when Kessel was here, but that's when it was at its best. And ever since he left, he's just been in a slow decline. It's not gotten better. And I think we're just seeing it at a rock bottom so far within the past 5 years.
Yeah, I agree. Again, I honestly, it's a pretty cliche thing, but sometimes simple is better. And I think that is absolutely the case with the Penguins power play, because there's so much talent on it, just keep it simple. And again, as cliche as it sounds, shoot the puck. You never know what's going to happen. You see weird bounces go into the net all the time. We've seen it against the Penguins a lot this year. So shoot the puck and good things will happen. And their power play just is not adhering to that right now. They were refusing to, because they're trying to set up the perfect play, and it's not there.
A guy who has been good on the power play and not for the Penguins is Patrick Hornqvist. What do you think about them missing him as a net front presence? Because he was the guy that could cause chaos in front of the net, block the lanes. And I'm not saying they should have traded Hornqvist. It was definitely a guy that was right to trade him, especially with the cap number and everything. I'm not going to argue against that, but I think missing him is affecting this power play a lot. There's nobody in front of the net that can cause the chaos, cause the goalie to miss his lanes, to be looking for the puck. And I think it's just affecting him, because he's had, I think, 3 power play goals so far this season. Meanwhile, the Penguins have only had 5 total. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I think that they definitely miss Patrick Hornqvist, and I don't think that you'll find an argument from anybody about that. And again, going back to it, I don't think that the issue was trading Patrick Hornqvist. I think that the bigger issue was, well, one, they didn't even use it to dump salary like we thought they would. They actually took on salary in the deal. And 2, they didn't find somebody to replicate that play style. And not that, those guys just grow on trees, but for cheap, I'm sure that you could have gone out and gotten somebody to play in your bottom 6 that creates somewhat of a net front presence that you can throw out there on the power play and provide that. Because again, they just don't have somebody. And I get that the league, to a degree, has kind of gone away from those types of guys, because you still need them to be skilled. They can't just be a body that you throw in front of the net. But we just played the Rangers, Chris Kreider, perfect example of what you want in that guy. A guy that plays in the top 6, but it still is massive body, creates that net front presence for them. And I think that the Penguins' biggest regret or failure this offseason is going to be finding a guy to somewhat replicate that role of Patrick Hornqvist on the power play. And, I would have said that to begin with, when we went out and made that deal and what we got back in return. I was hoping that they freed up the money from that and then went and signed a guy, like a 1-year, $2 million deal or something like that, that is of that same type of mold as Patrick Hornqvist, that's willing to go to those dirty areas and create that traffic. And they didn't do it, and the team is worse off for it. They don't have that type of guy. So yeah, it's easy to say that they miss him. But at the same time, I don't think that the problem, as you said too, and we've talked about before, the problem wasn't trading him. The problem was the trade that went down with him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and speaking of the Penguins power play in general, if they are looking for a guy to replace what Hornqvist is doing, I think there is at least one guy that can do it, but it's the guy that you do not want to do it, and that's Sidney Crosby. You don't want him to be in front of the net getting beat up like that, even though he's perfectly capable of doing the exact same thing that he was doing. We've seen many times Crosby works well guarding defenders in front, or blocking up defenders in front of the net, getting tip-ins, just getting dirty goals in that area. But then again, this is a guy that has too much skill to be playing in front of the net. You want to be able to make plays on the outside. And you just don't want someone to beat up on Sid like that. We've seen him get cross-checked in the head, the back multiple times. You want to preserve this guy as long as you can. So I don't think he should be doing that job, even though he's the one that's capable to do it. Because I think we've seen Jake in front of the net before. And not that Jake is a bad player by any means. It's just that's not what he's built for. So they just don't have that guy to be able to mimic what Hornquist is doing. And so when you subtract Hornquist and then you go a few years back and you subtract the quarterback of the power play and Phil Kessel, who, I mean, Letang he's been terrible on the power play and quarterbacking it and all that sort of stuff. I don't know what is wrong with him, but I think Marino has looked better on the top power play unit. And then even whenever Marino came out and P.O. Joseph got a little stint on that top power play unit in the past game, I think he looked really good. And I think that's probably because he was not in the pass-first mindset like a lot of these other guys, and he was looking to shoot the puck. But I don't know what's going on with Letang. But going back to the Kessel, missing those two guys in the power play has affected us so much that, like I said, we're at a rock bottom from what we've seen for the last few seasons of the Penguins power play. And I don't know what it's going to take to fix it, whether it's the coach, Todd Reirden, whether it's just the players figuring it out, playing better, actually shooting the puck more. But something's got to give because it's just been terrible.
I'm interested to see if when Zach Aston Reese comes back, if they try to use him in that role in the power play.
Do you think they would put him with the first unit, though? I mean, I understand what you're saying, but we've seen that Zach Aston Reese isn't as offensively skilled as people thought he could be, and he's definitely not Patrick Hornquist, even though he can play a similar role. So I see what you're saying. I just don't know if I'd be willing to put him with that first unit. But, I mean, if it gets them to score, then sure, by all means do it. I'll do anything for a power play goal at this point.
Yeah, I think that's kind of, I don't know if they will do it, but I guess what I'm getting at is I'm not expecting him to be the one to score. I just want somebody to make things, mess things up down there. I'm just like create a distraction.
Chaos. Literally anything. Because
chaos.
It's way too easy for penalty kills. The Penguins power play is so predictable.
I feel
you know who's skating it into the zone. You know where they're passing it. And especially if Malkin and on one power play chance, I think it might have been the first one, had 3 turnovers. That's terrible in one chance. So they're just way too predictable and way too easy. It kind of reminds me of a quote from, I don't know who it was, but someone said the Steelers offense was the easiest to prepare for. It's like the Penguins power play is the easiest to prepare for. And it's like, I would rather play 5-on-5. Even though we're not scoring 5-on-5 goals, we look better playing 5-on-5 than we do on a power play. It makes no sense.
I was just about to say that exact same thing, is that it's you can correlate it to the Steelers offense. That's how teams are able to defend the Penguins power play. It's that easy right now for them. So I don't know what it's going to take to fix. I don't think it's an easy fix. I don't think it's a quick fix, but the process is just not there right now. You can't always control the results, but you can control the process of trying to get that result. And the process is, for lack of a better word, it sucks.
And I don't know what it is, but I feel like a lot of times, and it's not just this season, it's been multiple seasons since this power play has been in this extended slump. The second unit, most of the time, has looked better than the first unit. And it's probably because they're more willing to actually
put Zach Aston on the second unit.
Yeah, I mean, I would take looking at the second unit with Zucker, McCann, Kapanen, and Pierre-Olivier Joseph, those guys have looked good. If you take out Drew O'Connor and you put on Zach Aston Reese when he comes back into that power play unit, have him on top, and then have McCann, Kapanen, Zucker, and Joseph work on the outsides, I think that could work. Because a lot of the times the second unit at least looks way more productive than the first unit. And there's a difference between not scoring and being productive on the power play and just being terrible, because we've seen power play chances where, the Penguins don't get a goal from their first unit, but they were shooting multiple times. They had a lot of good looks, and the puck just didn't go in. So you could feel whenever it's like, okay, that was a good power play chance, but they just haven't had that whatsoever. It's not like they just are doing well, but they're not just scoring. They're just not doing well whatsoever. And part of that is just because they're not shooting the puck, which again, I never say that, but they aren't. They're not shooting the puck, and they have to.
I think that was the idea with Drew O'Connor being on the second power play unit, was like him trying to replicate a Hornquist type role, but he's not. Like, I think Zach Aston Reese will be put in that role for that reason. So I could definitely see that as being more plausible than seeing him on that first power play unit. But, see how it goes on the second unit, and then maybe you see him jump up or something like that, depending on how it goes on the second unit. I don't know. Whatever's going to work. I mean, even if it means the second unit playing more than the first unit. I mean, whatever it takes to get this power play to do something. Again, like, I'm not even worried about them scoring goals right now. I just want them to actually look like they have an extra man on the ice.
Yeah, it seems crazy to think that we would rather see the second power play than seeing Crosby and Malkin on the ice, but it's true. They are just horrific.
I don't know what Todd Reardon's here for at this point, because Letang has taken a step back again this year. I understand he's getting up there in age, and he shouldn't be playing as much as he has anyway, especially when you have John Marino behind him now, and maybe, with the way that Marino, we've seen him this year now log 30 minutes, maybe that gives him the confidence to dial Letang's minutes back, because at his age, still trying to play 30 minutes a night, it shouldn't be happening. But Todd Reardon was brought back here to help Chris Letang get back to like his best, what he was like when Todd Reardon was here, and fix the power play. And neither of those things have happened. So Todd Reardon, I don't know what you're doing right now, pal, but we better kick it in the gear here shortly.
Yeah. Also, I saw we didn't really go over it on our notes. We kind of skipped past it, just talking about being in fourth place in the division.
Yeah.
Our division is very top heavy, at least as of right now.
Yeah.
Even though we do have the Devils and the Sabres close behind us as well. But it's going to be a tough stretch, because you got Boston, Capitals, and Flyers, which are all very good teams. So the top four, correct me if I'm wrong, top four go to the playoffs?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I mean, as long as we're in that fourth place spot, I'm still okay with that. But honestly, for the way the Penguins have been playing 5-on-5 and with the power play that they have, they should feel lucky that they have.
I think they're fortunate to be in fourth right now. And I'm also looking at it like, I don't see how much higher I could see them being. When you talk about, how good we know Philly is. The way Washington's played this year, they only have one loss in regulation, which is kind of surprising to me, honestly. Like, I didn't think they would be that great this year. Boston, we said, was one of the best teams, and they've missed Pasternak up until the last couple games for the entire season. So now that they're back to pretty much full strength, they're one of the best teams in the league. So I think that the Penguins are kind of in that. How much higher? I don't see them going much higher than fourth. I don't see them going much lower. I think that they're probably where they will be by the time the season comes to a conclusion.
Yeah, and I hope that we're wrong. I hope they really figure things out, figure out the power play, be better defensively. But yeah, realistically, looking at the teams ahead of them, I don't think you have much of an argument that they need to be higher than they are, or they should be higher than they are. They're about in the right place. Because looking at the conference before the season, it was pretty daunting. Like, could the Penguins miss the playoffs depending on how they play? I'm not saying that that's what they're going to do by any stretch, but if they don't continue to play better, then I think you could start to have that conversation. Like, if your power play is shooting at like a 10% clip the entire season, there's probably a good chance that you're not putting yourself in a position to have success and make the playoffs.
Yeah. So you have Philly, Washington, Boston, us, New Jersey, Buffalo, the Islanders being as low as they are kind of surprises me. And then the Rangers, who are, they're tied actually with the Islanders in last place in the division. But it's a pretty solid division. Like, we both said that we thought Buffalo was getting better. They just still don't have the goalie. The Rangers, pretty solid offensively. I'm surprised at how bad their goaltending has been, to be honest with you. I thought Gordiev and that Scherst, I don't even know how you say his last name.
No idea.
Scherstikanen or whatever it is. I thought that they would be a pretty solid duo for them. And then the Islanders really surprised me where they're at right now. They just play a perfect style of hockey. So I would say that from that standpoint, the surprise to me in the division are the Devils being, right behind the Pens, and if they played one less game as well. So once they play the 10th game, if they were to win, they would actually jump the Penguins. So they've been better than I thought, and the Islanders have been worse than I thought.
Yeah, I have to agree with you. Islanders past multiple years under Barry Trotz, we've seen them be such a solid team. We saw it firsthand in the playoffs. They just outplayed the Pens so hard that year. But I think watching the Rangers, because we played them 4 times this year, not that I think the Rangers should be better, but this is a team that I think in the next 2 to 3 years is going to be a really good team. They're getting the tools in the right places, and once
you got Tony DeAngelo out of there, that's great for them.
Yeah, yeah. And I've seen like a lot of things linking the Penguins to him.
Nope.
I'm not a fan. I understand he scored a lot of points last year. I still don't want him. But I mean, they're going to be really good, especially if they can figure out that goaltending with the offensive power that they're growing on there. Capo Caco, Alexis Lafreniere, they're going to be a real threat in the next few years.
I really like that defenseman, Keandre Miller.
Yeah,
I think he's nice. I think he's a great piece for them going forward. The Penguins actually at -7 have the worst goal differential in the division.
Well, there's no shock there. Tristan Jarry has been very underperforming.
That's a great segue, by the way, because that was the next thing was how bad the goaltending's been. It's not even like the Smith's been very good, but yeah, Jarry and oddly enough,
for backup, that's the difference.
Yeah, Tristan Jarry and oddly enough, Matt Murray have been the 2 worst goaltenders this year in terms of expected goals above average. They're the 2 worst goalies in the NHL this year. So the difference that like Matt Murray, I kind of expected that, and that's not a shot at Matt Murray. That's a shot at the Ottawa Senators organization. That is an absolutely atrocious defense that should not be put out there in an NHL game. And you're even seeing it with the other goalie that they throw out there. Like they are getting nothing defensively from their team right now. And in return, they're getting nothing from their goaltenders. So that should not come as a shock. Tristan Jarry, however, I don't know if, and I still have high hopes for him. I don't know if it's just like, first like jitters to becoming a starter for the first time or what it is like, but obviously he has not been up to the task right now. And I mean, luckily they've gotten, I don't even know if I can say decent, better goaltending from Casey DeSmith because he had his moments. I think Tristan Jarry's played 1 good game this year and he still gave up 3 goals in it. It was against the Rangers. But again, the defense just wasn't great. The defense has improved, I feel like, since then. So maybe behind this defense, we will see a better version of Tristan Jarry. But it has not been up to what we were expecting, when the year started. We thought that this was a guy that could seamlessly make that transition to be a number 1 goaltender.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just in his head. The daunting task of being the starting goalie. There's no other guy that is kind of like your 1A, 1B. And the thing I will say about Casey DeSmith is I've said it since before the season when we knew he was going to be a backup. I had faith in him the entire time as a backup. I knew that he could play well. He's a guy that had double-digit wins in the NHL before. And I think he's put the team in a position to win every single game that he's started, which is the most you can ask for of the backup goalie. So I really have no complaints for him, really. With Tristan Jarry, I think he had a couple of games where he wasn't amazing, but it wasn't terrible from him. I think both games against the Rangers that they won, and even that first game in Boston, it wasn't great, but they went to OT. I think you can argue that it was an okay game. It wasn't stellar by any means, but especially that last game in Boston, the first 2 Philly games, he just looked specifically horrible in those 3 games. And he's at 3.92 goals against average and a 859 save percentages. I mean, that's just not good enough by any means. He needs to improve. And he knows that, I'm sure. And I don't know what it's going to take. I don't know if it's just like something digging down deep inside of him to play better, but something's got to give because the stat that you're talking about where he's the worst goalie in the NHL, that's taking into account how bad the team in front of you is playing. So you can't really give that argument. I mean, sometimes we've said before, you just need to get a save, and he's not making a save whenever the team needs it. Because sure, you've got the routine saves, and A lot of teams, you want your defense to bail you out, but sometimes you need the goalie to bail you out. And he has not been capable of doing that this year. I still have trust in Tristan Jarry. He's still the number one guy. That's who they want to be the number one guy. He just needs to figure it out and play better.
When do they go back to him?
I think you could go back to him this Saturday because they've had an extended period of time off. Maybe he works things out in practice. Maybe they look good. And I don't think that a loss to the New York Rangers. Now, Casey DeSmith did not lose that game to the New York Rangers. The team did not play well in front of him. However, I don't think it's warranting of him having to be the starting goalie again on Saturday. So I think you could see him on Saturday. Tristan Jarry, they want him to be in there. They want him to figure it out. And the way he's going to figure it out is on the ice. He's not going to do it from sitting on the bench watching Casey DeSmith play. So you're going to have to just force him in there and hope that he figures it out eventually and sooner rather than later because, like I said, this is your number one guy. This is who you want to be your starting goalie. It's who you chose over Matt Murray to be your starting goalie. And that's what the organization wants. They just need to figure it out.
Yeah, I agree with you. I am curious to see if it does happen as early as Saturday. But yeah, I'm not even of the mindset like DeSmith is stealing the net right now. I think that they've just seen how bad Tristan Jarry has played, and it's a short season. You literally got to get every point that you can. Like I don't know if their faith in Jarry has wavered at all, but I mean, the fact that we're seeing DeSmith make multiple starts in a row now, and this isn't the first time that it's happened. I wonder where a guy like where Mike Sullivan is with Tristan Jarry right now.
Yeah, you definitely know that he has his favorite players. And that's a good question. Where does Tristan Jarry lie in his favorite players list? Probably not pretty high right now. But I mean, comparing his stats, Tristan Jarry to Casey DeSmith. Casey DeSmith, his save percentage again is not anything special. It's actually pretty bad. It's an 8.82. Mm-hmm. But his goals against average is 2.85, which is a lot better than Jarry's. But just the biggest difference that I've seen from DeSmith to Jarry is the game that DeSmith has played, he's giving you a chance to win the game. Which Jarry, a lot of times, especially in that, what was the Boston game? It was just we looked good for a little bit, and he just like kept letting in goals. I'm not saying that he needs to stop every single one, and that it's not the defense's or the offense's fault either. But like I said, sometimes you just got to make a save. Like when your team needs it, that's what you're in there to do. You're the starting goalie. That's what they expect of you. And sometimes you just need to bail them out. But we haven't seen that from him so far.
We have not. Okay, and then the last thing that I just kind of want to touch on here, as I kind of brought up, the first game would have happened yesterday, and they're also not going to play tomorrow. We see these games get postponed against the Devils. And, we talked about it maybe being a blessing in disguise for the Penguins. It's just like it's a weird situation because I know that the Stars missed a ton of time early in the season. We know other teams have gone through this. But how do you and this is kind of a rhetorical because I'm not being able thinking that you're going to be able to answer this by any means because it's not like you've been in this situation yourself. But as a team, how do you prepare for this all of a sudden? You're expecting to play a game, all of a sudden it's like, do we have an off day? Are we going to practice? What's going to happen? How do you think that the guys are staying ready and adapting?
Well, I wouldn't give these guys an off day. They haven't deserved it. I'm sorry. They need to work on. They need to work on that offense, 5-on-5 and power play. They've been terrible. So I think they continue to practice, and I think they practice hard. Honestly, they should spend an entire day because you've got multiple days in a row that you're off, just working on the power play over and over and over again. And if I'm Sullivan and I think these guys are being shoot first, pull Malkin off the top unit and put someone else in. Really show them that, okay, we're not messing around anymore. You guys need to figure this out. So, yeah, that's how I would imagine they're preparing for it. I don't think they're going to really, take this as a small vacation. I think they're going to practice just as hard and for multiple days because there's a lot to prepare for. It's not like this team's perfect by any means.
They should do essentially a scrimmage, but actually bring in referees and stuff.
Bring in me. I'll do it. But yeah, seriously, that would be good, like an inter-squad scrimmage.
Obviously, the only concern is like somebody getting injured, but
yeah, we've had a lot of that going around. Imagine if another defenseman got hurt. P.O. Joe's just another left-handed defenseman. I don't even want to think about that.
Yeah, well, you already said it, but
True.
that's what I was thinking about. Like, I can see the argument where people would be like, "I don't want that to happen." Wrap everybody in bubble wrap until game day. But to your point,
much to work on to do that.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. To your point, I don't think that the team is in a place right now where they should be comfortable. I mean, they're in the I understand how early it is, but at the same time, we're 20%, close to 20% of the way through the season. I mean, like every point matters, and this team with the start they're off to right now, they're in that last playoff spot in the division. They don't have breathing room. They need to get better. As a matter of fact, they can't afford to. Not only can they not afford to slide back at all, they need to advance their game, and that starts, in my opinion, for as bad as the power play's been. I'm not impressed with them 5-on-5 either. Like there's really nothing.
Don't have a 5-on-5 goal.
I know, yeah,
that's unacceptable.
Not
that Crosby's been terrible. He's been still very good at times. But the fact that he does not have a 5-on-5 goal 10 games into the season is pretty alarming.
The one thing that I will say that is encouraging that we're starting to see more and more of is Jason Zucker starting to find the back of the net. So that's good.
Yeah, he started to figure it out. He scored 3 games in a row now. Again, love that trade. Love that player. Well worth it for the midget in the first round pick.
Yeah, I mean, we hope he's here for a long time. Even like the teams after. I don't even want to think about that, but like the teams after Malkin and Sid and Letang are gone. We hope Jason Zucker is part of that team.
For at least another 3 years. So.
Yeah. Do you have anything else?
No, I think we've covered a lot. We've ranted a lot this show but it's been very well warranted. Our ranting. So
yeah, I hope our remarks on the team are much better a week from now. Hopefully things have quickly progressed in all areas, 5-on-5 and on the power play. Of course, as we kind of mentioned, they're only going to play a couple games before our next show starting Saturday, and they're supposed to play the Devils Tuesday. So hopefully that happens.
Yeah, I'm hoping that nothing happens with the Islanders. I mean, it would suck to just go from COVID case to COVID case with these teams.
That's the thing is we really don't know. I mean, we got to take it day by day. It's something that we weren't even thinking about. Like the Penguins season was just kind of going along smoothly. We know that there was stuff going on around the league with some teams, but the Pens not affected by it yet. And then all of a sudden, 10 games in, here we are with the Devils.
Yeah, and the Devils had they put 10 players on their COVID list. That's a lot.
Yeah, so they were done. They were in Pittsburgh when they had 6, and they had to put 4 more on, and then they got the boot from Pittsburgh. So
yeah. So when they had 6, were they still looking to play the games with their taxi squad?
Yeah, they were going to play when there were 6 guys on there.
Gotcha. Yeah, and I mean, I don't know how the NHL is going to make up these games. I guess they're just looking for open spots that work for during the season. Because I, in my knowledge, I don't know anything about extending the season at all. So I guess you're looking at future back-to-backs or stuff like that. And, yeah, I mean, that would be so funny though. Just a double header like a baseball game except hockey. That'd be so tiring too. You'd have to switch up.
Imagine if teams had to do a day-night double header on a Sunday or something. They play at noon and then again at 8.
That would suck so bad. I guess. I mean, do you have any idea what they're gonna do? I guess I just look for open dates and just fill them.
Yeah,
I assume the games would still be in Pittsburgh, so they have to look for a time whenever they could both be in Pittsburgh. And it might be weird for the Devils though, because depending on scheduling, I don't know how they're going to do it, because a lot of these games are every other day, and they're not going to schedule them 3 games in a row, I would imagine, unless they have to. I don't know, unless the back's against the wall.
I think we're going to see the season get extended.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense.
Eventually. I mean, I think that's what it comes down to. They're not going to do it until they have to, but I think that ultimately they're just pushing off the inevitable, and that's going to be what happens.
Yeah, which, I mean, I don't really think is a big deal. The season's going into the summer as it is. And we saw it go into the summer last year. I mean, we didn't even start till August last year. So I really don't mind that. As long as they get the games in and they don't just cancel them, that's what matters to me, because literally every point matters. You can't be canceling these games, especially for a team like the Penguins. Every point that you earn matters, so you have to play these games.
Yeah. Speaking of the Pens, you can go and get some Penguin style tank tops. So benchclears.com. What they offer is NHL jerseys in tank top form. You can get 20% off your order when you use the code Crowworthy, one word, CROWWORTHY. Again, that's benchclears.com for all your needs. They got a ton of different styles, including like the alternate gold. I really like the away one personally. The white. I mean, the away Penguins jersey is probably my favorite jersey that they have. So I'm biased. Let's just get that out of the way. But that's my favorite style one that they got.
I think that's my favorite too. That's the one that I'm going to be rocking this summer. Hopefully I get to wear it at the beach. Yeah. I know I'm going on a trip in this next December to Hawaii, so I'll probably rock it there as well.
The NHL playoffs that will be taking place in July or August once the season gets pushed back.
Yeah, instead of wearing a jersey, just wear a bench clears tank top. Also, we saw the first game with the reverse retro. We mentioned that. What did you think?
I thought they looked good. It's funny that, like, I mean, I didn't hate them to begin with. I mean, I thought that there were better options that they could have gone with, but my initial reaction was, I know that those are going to look good on people just wearing them every day, but what are they going to look like on the players? I didn't think they were bad. I still feel like there was probably another option that they could have gone with that I would have liked more, but I like them. I don't think that they're bad by any means, but at the end of the day, the result while wearing them is the only thing that matters, and they're 0-1. So
that's true. Burn
never
them.
Wear them again.
Get rid of them. But no, I agree. I actually like them. I think they look very clean, and I think a big difference that I noticed from the actual jersey that they wore in the 90s, which is the one that I never liked on players, is I think when you look at the lettering of the Pittsburgh, I think the letters are smaller on these jerseys than they were back then. So it doesn't look as bulky whenever the players are wearing them. And back then, players were able to tuck in their jerseys, which made it look worse. Now you have to have your jersey untucked, which I think looks better for this style of jersey. I thought it looked pretty clean, and I actually like them. Like I said, I was not a huge fan when I saw the leaked picture of what they looked like, but then I saw them in person in an actual store, and then seeing the players in them, I think they look pretty good. And I'm actually happy I saw whenever they put out the schedules of when they're wearing all the jerseys, I'm happy to find out that they did not get rid of their third jersey. They still have the yellow alternate jersey. I was worried that they just got rid of those and weren't going to wear them anymore, but there's like 7 games this season that they're going to wear them. So I'm happy that they kept all 4 jerseys.
The question is, do we see the reverse retro pass this year?
I don't know. I guess that's an NHL thing, not a team thing. But
the Penguins could make it their alternate, and if that's the case, do we not see the gold pass this year?
I'll be honest. I prefer the gold to the diagonal Pittsburgh if they're keeping third jerseys. I'm a huge fan of those gold jerseys. I think they're a clean look, especially compared to some of the other alternate jerseys that they've had. Like I was never a huge fan of like the powder blue, baby blue, that sort of stuff.
Winter Classic ones.
Yeah, and whenever they made those their alternate jerseys after the Winter Classics, I mean they were all right. I was just never a big fan of them. But I actually really like this third jersey, the all yellow one, especially with and I know a lot of people say that yellow helmets are too much. I just think the whole look is clean. And so I'd rather keep that than this reverse retro jersey. But I don't know what the NHL plans to do with all the other teams. Like if they keep the plan to do this for multiple years, or if it's just like a 1 year off. And I mean, maybe they switch reverse retro jerseys and have multiple.
I don't think that we see the league as a whole continue to do it. I think they did it this year to up the merchandise sales in a year where obviously the pandemic affected everything. I think they were just looking for a way to put out more merchandise for every team. Mm-hmm. I think that the teams will have the option to keep them as their alternate jersey, as their third jersey, but I don't think that we see teams wearing all 4 next year.
Yeah, that's right. That's true. I agree with you. I think there are certain teams that should adapt those reverse retros as their third jerseys, like Colorado, for example. Keep the Nordique jersey as your third jersey. for me, the LA King or not LA, LA Kings. I was thinking Lakers because of the colors of the jersey. LA Kings. Keep the Lakers colors as a jersey. I think those are a great looking jersey. And for me, if I'm Arizona, I'm making the what's it called? The Kachina? Is that what they call it?
So,
make the normal Kachina jersey your normal home jersey, and make your reverse retro Kachina jersey your alternate jersey. And then there's like other teams like Minnesota. I mean, honestly, Minnesota, I would take those jerseys that they have now, ditch your colorway that you have for your normal home jerseys, and just take the North Stars colors and make that your normal jersey. It looks so much better than their actual colors. Their colors are so bland with the green and the red. That yellow and that light green just pops so well.
Yeah. I don't get the red. Like it's such a like the amount of it too. Like it's not even like a featured color for them. It's just such a small amount.
Yeah.
It just looks stupid.
There are a lot of reverse retro jerseys I like. I'm still considering getting a Nathan McKinnon Northeast jersey. I've never owned a jersey of another player from another team. That might be the first one I get though.
There you go. I think that's about it.
Yeah.
Keats Barbershop is an old-fashioned barbershop. It's located at 180 Brighton Avenue in Rochester, PA. He's open 11 to 7 Tuesday through Friday and 10 to 4 on Saturday. Every Tuesday, there's $5 off for military personnel, first responders, and nurses. Again, that's Keats Barbershop at 180 Brighton Avenue in Rochester, PA. Your boy will be making a stop down there on Saturday.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I had to do that. I know that sounded weird. I had to do that because Keek and I were playing Valorant. I did that in a game. He said, do that after my ad read on the next show. And I promised I'd do it.
I was wondering. I looked up while I was doing that, and you had like a smile on your face, and I was like,
yeah.
Something's either going to happen or just hearing Keats Barbershop made him happy.
I mean, both. But I didn't go all out like I did when we were playing, but I just threw a little something up there. I promised him I would. But yeah, Keek makes me happy.
I'm curious to see the feedback that we get on doing the show like this, so be sure to tweet at us and let us know. This hopefully will be something that we incorporate pretty regularly. Maybe like we do one a week like this or something like that, and the other one just as a podcast. I don't know. I'm just throwing that out there. We'll see how we end up doing it. But either way, thanks for tuning in to Around the 412. This has been a presentation of Crowworthy. Winners are serving winners coast to coast with sports, gambling, fantasy, all that good stuff, and much more. Follow them at Crowworthy. Follow us at Around the 412 on Twitter. Visit the Pittsburgh City page at crowworthy.com for podcasts like this one, blogs, gambling advice, all that good stuff, and much more. Until next time, we will talk to you then. Bye-bye.